Okay, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. We have a few more people that appear to be logging on, so we're going to wait for them to join. My name is Courtney Neubauer. Most of you probably know who I am or recognize my voice by now after months of the monthly call, but today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. So our plan today is to discuss some of the free and reduced forms that were posted most recently, and also just kind of clear up, who needs to process applications, why you would process applications, which media release to use. So we've just got a lot of questions over the last few weeks, so we were hoping that this training would answer some of those for all of you. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I thank all of you for joining us on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. For those of you who think this is just a normal Wednesday, this happens to be my birthday. So I am spending my birthday afternoon with you, teaching you about the forms for the next school year. So be nice to me. Okay, so what we're going to start with today is talking about some of the public release requirements, just general requirements for public releases, general requirements for the letter to the households, and then how those requirements look as we transition into school year 21-22 with seamless summer. We're then just going to briefly talk about income surveys. We will answer a few questions about summer 2021 PEBT, and then remind you all of some recent resources and memos that have been posted and our upcoming virtual trainings. So this first part, the public release requirements, this is general public release requirements. This is not specific to this school year. This is just what is required for National School Lunch, School Breakfast program all the time. So near the beginning of each school year, the public must be notified that free and reduced price meals are available. And most of you are very familiar with this requirement. This notice must include the eligibility criteria for both the free and reduced priced meals. So it's important to include that the income eligibility guidance for both free and reduced. This public announcement is to be provided to the local news media, the unemployment office, and to any major employers who may be contemplating large layoffs in the area. And most of you know those. So we hear about those large major employers pretty, through the news media when there is some contemplation of layoffs. And you need to keep a record on file for 3 years plus the current year, identifying where that public release was actually sent. So that public announcement, once again, must contain both that free and reduced price income eligibility scale. Do know that CEP schools are not required to include that free and reduced income eligibility guidelines. Since everybody's free, those income eligibility guidelines would not matter for the CEP schools. So that is why that information is not required. You should not send that public announcement directly to families, and you should not post that on your school website or the district handbook. And the reason why is because that is meant to be a public release. It is meant to reach the public, not necessarily your families. So that is intended to be in the newspaper, in unemployment offices, places that you would be reaching families that may not necessarily be your students. You are not required to pay to have that public release published. So if you provide that to the media and that fee is not something that you are willing or able to pay, you do not have to pay that. They can run that free of charge if they so choose. But if they do want to charge you a fee and you're not comfortable paying that fee, then you do not have to pay to have it published. But you do need to maintain documentation that shows who received that current public release, as well as any copy of any distributed public release. So if you have to show that you have reached out to provide that information, even if it does not actually get published. So that public release must also explain what you're going to do, what the family needs to do when information is already known to the SFA. So when known to the SFA, that the households will be notified if their children are eligible or through SNAP. So if you found them on a DC list, if you are able to know that they are eligible for TANF, and that if these families are found on a SNAP list or receiving TANF, that they do not need to fill out an application, and that all children in the households are eligible for free meals. And also it will let them know that if there are children that were not listed on that eligibility notice, once you provide that to the household, that they should contact you so that you can extend those free benefits to all of those other children. Additionally, that public release is going to let households know that when you know the information, you will notify them of any child's eligibility for free meals through other source categorically eligible information. So if they are categorized as homeless, migrant, or runaway, if they're enrolled in Head Start or Even Start, and once again, if there are children not listed on any eligibility notice, that they should contact you about that information. And they can also submit an income application for those other children. If households receiving benefits under any assistance program or source programs are not identified by the school, the parent or guardian should contact you. So you're just really trying to get this information out, what they need to do if they think that their child should be eligible, especially if it's a family that may not necessarily have been enrolled in your school system yet. So you're not necessarily reaching them yet through those letters to the household. The households must also be notified of any children's eligibility, and they can contact you if they want to decline the free benefits. So even though they may be eligible for free benefits, so you find them on a DC list or they're in an eligible Head Start program, they have the right to decline those benefits. And that notice and that public release explains that they can contact you if they would like to decline those free benefits. Additional public release requirements: you must keep copies of the public release and have that available upon request to any interested person. And you need to also ensure that communication with applicants, participants, members of the public, and companions with disabilities are as effective as communications with people without disabilities. You also need to take reasonable steps to ensure meaningful access to our programs by persons with limited English proficiency. So that's kind of the media release and the role of the media release. And once again, that is just across the program. It's not specific to this school year. It's just what the requirements are. And then we'll touch on some examples of different media releases and letters to the households that we have available if you want to use them as templates. So in addition to the media release, at the beginning of schools, a parent letter must be distributed to households of children attending the school or schools in your district. So you cannot send those letters home at the end of the school year for the next school year. So you cannot send those letters in May or June for students that may be, for the start of the school year in August. So that letter needs to be sent at the beginning of the school year. And this is a very similar letter, similar to the media release, but the goal of this is to inform families of the free and reduced price meals that are available to their children in the school system. The letter can be distributed by postal service. You can email that directly to the parent, and you can also include this in informational packets that are provided to the students. So you don't have to necessarily mail this to every household. You can include it in any information packet that is normally provided to those households through the students. If the school system uses a computer or web-based system to process applications, your letter must inform the households how to access the system to apply for benefits. And if you are using an electronic system to process applications, you must also explain how the household can obtain a paper application if they so wish to do so. So SFAs are required to inform households of the availability of the programs and how a household may apply for free or reduced price benefits. Households cannot be mandated to submit the free and reduced price application. So you're just providing information and letting them know how they can apply, but they do not have to fill that out. The household letter must also must include the reduced priced guidelines. So if the media release must include both the free and the reduced, the informational letter must include the reduced priced guidelines and an explanation that households with incomes at or below that reduced priced income may be eligible for free or reduced price meals. Instructions on how to apply for free or reduced price meals, which would also include your contact information, your mailing address, which is prominently displayed on the letter, an explanation of how to submit an application to the school, instructions on where to direct any questions they have about the process, and other general application information. So the general application information that should be included in that letter should be how that the household can apply for benefits at any time during the school year. It also should include that children of parents or guardians who become unemployed or experience a financial hardship somewhere in the school year could become eligible for free or reduced price meals at any point in the school year. Also, it should let them know that only one application is required for all children that are in the household attending school within the same district. Also, they do not need to fill out an application if the household was notified that their children have been directly certified. So if you send out those direct certification letters and they receive one, then they would not need to fill out an application. If they're not sure whether their child is directly certified, they can definitely contact the school to determine that before completing that application. And also the application, as you know, requires those last 4 digits of the Social Security number. So in that letter, it needs to tell them that that's the information that will be requested. But it also, if they do not have a Social Security number, there is the ability to select none when submitting that application. And any information that is submitted on the application may be subject to verification. So this letter to the household is kind of a disclaimer, as well as providing a lot of information about the meal application and the process once they do submit that application. So the non-discrimination statement. I know we often get questions about whether or not we can use the short or the long statement. So anytime you're reaching the public, you are to use the full, long non-discrimination statement. And I have included the full version in English on the next slide. We do also have the full version in Spanish, Vietnamese, and Arabic on our website. So this is the long statement. The short statement would be basically that last line of this institution is an equal opportunity provider. But for the information that you're sending to the households and the public, you are to use the long statement. So now, as we've talked about just the general requirements of media releases and letters to the household, we'll jump to the requirements of CEP schools. And I know you're probably wondering why I'm going over all of this basic information. You really want to know what you need to do next year, and that's coming. So before we can kind of talk about what's required for school year 21-22, I think it's really important to know what the requirements are across the board. Because even in a normal school year, we get questions regarding media releases and letters to the household. So now we'll move to the public notification requirements for CEP schools. So SFAs participating in CEP should use their usual channels of communication with media and households to notify the community that school meals, both breakfast and lunch, will be available at no charge to all students enrolled at CEP schools. So you as a CEP school would still be required to have the same notification processes. So we've gone over two notification processes, our media release and our letter to the household. That requirement is the same for CEP schools, although the information you're communicating is a little bit different. So you're not needing to tell them how they need to apply or what information they'll need for the application or what the income guidelines are. You're really only providing information, letting them know that all meals are going to be free. So it looks a little bit different, although the requirements are still the same. So public notification requirements for CEP schools, it's important to be clear, consistent, especially in districts where you're partial CEP. So we know that partial CEP systems, where there's some schools that are CEP and some schools that are not, it gets really confusing and families get really confused because they're not sure what group they fall in. So school administrators at non-CEP schools within a district that also has CEP schools should ensure families are aware of applications and the benefits of completing it by conducting a lot of outreach. A combination of outreach strategies is best to ensure that all households are aware of CEP and its benefits. You can place CEP notifications prominently on websites or in any kind of back to school packets, sending email notifications to households, holding information sessions, and also providing CEP information at school board meetings and any back to school nights. So now that we've gone over kind of the general requirements for public release and letters to the household, we'll kind of jump to thinking about this next school year. So school year 21-22. So we kind of have two options for schools. So our first option, which is actually going to be what's more on the right side of the screen, schools can operate regular national school lunch in school year 21-22. So they can operate either traditional free and reduced, where they're collecting those meal applications, or they could operate CEP. And then they would serve meals only to students that are enrolled at that school. They'd count the meals by student eligibility of free, reduced, and paid, and the reimbursement for those meals would be based on the student's free, reduced, priced eligibility based on the reimbursement rates for the National School Lunch Program, which will be posted probably later today. So that's the first option. And most of you are probably saying, well, you know, why would we do that? Well, there's probably not a whole lot of reason for schools to operate under regular NSLP in school year 21-22. Most schools, if not all schools, are going to plan on operating seamless summer. So that's what's listed on the left side of the screen. So schools operating seamless summer in school year 21-22. So most of you, that's probably where you fit. That's what you're planning on doing next year. So if that is the plan, you're going to serve meals to students that are enrolled at your school. You also have the ability to operate open sites where you can also serve children in the community who are 18 and under. Under the Seamless Summer option, all children would receive meals free of charge. And the reimbursement that would be provided is the high rate of reimbursement for the summer food service program. So this is where things get really confusing. So we're throwing seamless summer and summer feeding and national school lunch. And so a lot of times the question will come in, I'm just not even sure what to do. So the majority of our schools should be planning on operating Seamless Summer option with that higher summer food service reimbursement rate, where all children are receiving meals free of charge. So if you are one of those schools that are operating regular national school lunch in school year 21-22, you can use the standard public release and letter to the household, the same information that we've had posted for many years, that we kind of change the information by changing the date more than anything. So I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint for a second and jump to our website. So on our website, if you go to the child nutrition website, under memos and resources, under school food service, and then go under forms, you'll see that we have the free and reduced section, and then we also have the free and reduced for Seamless Summer. And that's the one that gets really confusing. So this traditional free and reduced, here we have our application instructions, we have our letter to the household. So when I click on the letter to the household, this is the, when it comes, hold on, it's on my other screen. This is the standard letter to the household. This doesn't have anything about Seamless Summer. This is strictly a normal letter that basically is telling parents of our of the eligibility to qualify for free or reduced price meals. You'll see here, it includes just information regarding one income category, because the letter to the household includes the reduced information only. And this is simply a template. So it is pretty, you can use it in its standard form and just fill in the blank, or you can write your own as long as you include the same required information. But this is the standard letter. We also have the public release. And this public release is the standard public release. This now includes both the reduced and the free information, which was different from the letter to the household. And this is meant to provide to the public, so through your media outlets, your unemployment offices. Okay, so that is what's linked here. So the public release and the letter to the household, which is linked in this document, are those two documents that I just showed you, from the standard free and reduced section of the website. Okay, so now we'll talk about Seamless Summer in school year 21-22. So I've got a couple of options of what school systems will be planning on doing. So the first, you could be Seamless Summer, and you are planning to process meal applications. And we'll talk about why you may want to do that in just a second. You also could be operating Seamless Summer and you don't intend to process meal applications, but you will process applications for any families who request an application to qualify, to potentially qualify for PEBT in school year 21-22 and summer 2022. You could also be Seamless Summer and system-wide CEP. And this group, you can't process meal applications. So the requirement under CEP is that you would not process meal applications. So you may fit into this bottom category. And then there's those complicated districts that may be operating Seamless Summer and also be partially CEP And you may be processing applications just at those non-CEP schools. So there's that other group that just, kind of we have to think about how we're going to construct letters for that group, because that information does need to be clear and concise, because families get confused fairly easily when you've got a district that some schools are CEP and some schools are not. So the public announcement requirement for Seamless Summer. So schools that are operating Seamless Summer must provide public notification regarding the availability of school meals and the eligibility criteria. So this public announcement is probably going to look very similar to a CEP public announcement. For school year 21-22, if the schools are participating in Seamless Summer, you're notifying households that all meals will be free through Seamless Summer. So very, very similar to that CEP announcement that we discussed earlier. So we also just kind of wanted to bring this up as we start moving into Seamless Summer, is that there is still a requirement under Seamless Summer that you continue to match students through direct certification. So even though all your kids are free, some of those same processes like DC are still required. So all SFAs that are operating Seamless Summer, even those that may not be planning to process applications, are still required to use eScholar to directly certify students. The updates are still available monthly. You are still required to notify your households of direct certification eligibility, because that has not been waived. We have also created templates, which includes a language that explains why households are receiving this letter in a school year when all students are eligible for free meals. And these templates are available in English and Spanish. So when we jump to the website, these will now be found in that same section, but they'll be under the free and reduced Seamless Summer for school year 21-22. So the letters that I'm discussing right now are going to be the direct certification for letters for Seamless Summer. So your eligibility letter, direct certified free household. We've got one in English and one in Spanish. And so this letter is notifying the households that you have identified them as directly certified, and you're informing them of that. And then you are also telling them that even though there are flexibilities for free, that you've also determined that they are DC, and that determination can be used for the first 30 days of school year 22-23. We're just trying to find some explanation for households to let them know why we're still doing some of these same processes that are required during the during this next year when everybody's free, as we are in other school years. So that template that I just showed you is the one that's linked here in English, and we also have a Spanish version. So applications. So applications, Seamless Summer, should we or should we not be processing applications? So generally speaking, under Seamless Summer, we would not need to process meal applications. Meal applications are not a determination for free and reduced price meals under Seamless Summer. All students are receiving free meals. But we have received guidance from USDA that says that schools that are operating Seamless Summer in school year 21-22 can also still process meal applications for child nutrition purposes. And those purposes may be establishing PEBT eligibility, and then also the 30-day carryover status for the next school year of school year 22-23. So then that kind of raises questions of, okay, well, should we or should we not process meal applications? Well, one of the other lines that was included in the guidance from USDA is that even if an SFA does not want to process meal applications, they must make school meal applications available as needed to certify newly eligible children for school year 21, 22, and summer 2022 PEBT benefits. So that even complicates things a little bit more. So now we have, we may not have planned on processing meal applications, but we still have to have them available for those households that want to fill one out when it's to qualify for PEBT. So that's when things really got confusing. And then we also have to remember that community eligibility provision schools still cannot process meal applications, even if they're operating Seamless Summer. So let's talk about the first group. So now that you kind of have all of these different ways of doing things for school year 21-22, so we know that most of you are going to operate Seamless Summer. And then the decision needs to be, well, are we or are we not going to process meal applications? And that's completely a local decision. So if you do not plan to process meal applications, you are still required to issue a media release describing the meal program and the availability of free meals. You do not, if you don't plan on processing meal applications, you don't have to include any information about the meal applications in your public release, but you must still provide a household with an application if they request one to qualify for PEBT. If you do receive applications, even if it is solely related to PEBT, you must provide and process that application, conduct required verification activities on any applications that were received based on your sample size and the number of applications received as of October 1, and you must notify the household of that application result. So even if you have no intention of processing applications in school year 21-22, there's still a good chance that you're going to have some applications that are requested from households that are strictly related to PEBT eligibility. Schools operating Seamless Summer and still not planning to process those meal applications, you do not have to provide applications to all households. In your media release, you do not have to have information about the availability of applications. But if you do receive any applications, you still can use those applications to qualify for the 30-day carryover in school year 22-23. So if you do receive applications related to PEBT, those are applications that were processed in school year 21-22, which then make them valid for that 30-day carryover for school year 22-23. We do have media release templates for school systems that are not planning to process meal applications. So we have a template in English, and then we also have one in Spanish. So you'll see that this media release looks very similar to a CEP media release. So it's pretty short. It's basically information telling the public that all meals will be free in school year 21-22, and that we expect that income eligibility requirements will resume for school year 22-23. On our website, that's also listed here under the free and reduced eligibility. It is the media release for Seamless Summer Seamless Summer when you're no applications, so you're not planning on processing applications. And we also have that version in Spanish as well. So Now we're going to talk about the schools that are operating Seamless Summer and also planning to process meal applications. And so these are going to be the school systems that intend to process meal applications just as they would in a normal school year, even though all the children are receiving free meals. This has become a question that gets asked often because we do know that in addition to nutrition benefits, so whether it be for child nutrition purposes of PEBT or the 30-day carryover for the following school year, that information is also used for funding reasons unrelated to child nutrition. So a lot of our processes involve collecting this information from these meal applications. So there's been some talk about still continuing that in some of the school systems. So schools wishing to process applications to establish the 30-day carryover for school year 22-23 can announce this decision that at the same time that they're announcing that they're operating Seamless Summer. So you can announce that you are going to operate Seamless Summer and that you will have free meals and your reasons for processing meal applications. And so that can be strictly related to the carryover eligibility. That could be also related to potential PEBT eligibility. And you can process applications as long as you adhere to all of those requirements for processing applications. And that would be that you are providing applications and household letters, and that you're doing that to all enrolled students, that verification will still occur using that sample size and the number of approved applications on file as of that October 1st deadline. And you must issue that media release about your application process. And we do have a media release for school systems that are planning to process meal applications posted on our website. So in that same section of the website, we have those in English and Spanish, and we also have the version of the letter to the household in both English and Spanish. So here on our website, we have our media release for Seamless Summer when you're processing applications. Which includes all of the information about the criteria for free and reduced, that even though all the kids are free, this is why you're processing that application. We also, I just closed my whole PowerPoint, hold on. Okay. We also have the letter to the household in both English and Spanish. That's also on our website. I got too click happy and clicked everything off. Okay, so we have the household letter and this is for Seamless Summer household applications, household letter for applications. So this is also posted on the website. And so this is the information that you're providing to the households, same information as how they can apply, and that even though their determination is not going to be used for this school year, that it can be used for the 30-day carryover in the next school year. Okay, so if applications are processed, schools must still notify of families of the eligibility determination. So schools that are operating Seamless Summer in 21-22 can use the new template that we have on our website to establish carryover to determine to provide explanation of the determination, and that could be the eligibility carryover for school year 22-23. And this information is also on our website, so it's the letter to the households. It's in that same section here. So this is the eligibility letter, your approval denial, so telling them what the status was of their application. We have that in English, and we also have that in Spanish. So SFAs may post the application on the school or district's website. You can provide information in newsletters that is regularly sent to families, and use other existing notification methods like print, telephone, email, text message, and social media to encourage eligible families to apply. So there's that other group, the schools that are operating Seamless Summer, but also participating in CEP. So then the question comes, well, do we use the Seamless Summer or the CEP media release? Well, both the Seamless Summer media release, the ones that are not processing meal applications, and the CEP media release inform the public and the families of the exact same thing. They're providing information that all families, all children will receive free meals. Where it becomes a little bit questionable of whether or not you want to include Seamless Summer and CEP in the exact same media release will be that the children in CEP schools will also potentially be eligible for PEBT without an application. So if you want to combine both that CEP status and the Seamless Summer operation in the same media release, it may help explain this to families as we approach school year 21-22 and the potential of PEBT in the next school year. So we have created a template media release. So the first one is for CEP systems that are not processing meal applications. So these would be your CEP systems that are system-wide CEP potentially, and also operating under SSO. And then we also have a separate media release. So this is the media release that basically includes the same information about Seamless Summer, but also includes a small blurb about the about community eligibility provision, where you could include the list of schools if it's partial, and then also you could also just tell the public that these schools are operating free under Seamless Summer, but then they also participate in CEP. So this may answer questions as communication starts coming out a little bit later about CEP eligibility for PEBT, and also the CEP eligibility for like the emergency broadband benefits. So including some of that may help keep the phone calls a little bit under control as these other programs that rely on that CEP status start to be released. And then this other one, which is basically a media release that talks about accepting applications at some schools. And so this would be for those partial school systems that are planning to process meal applications, but we are not going to process meal applications on their CEP schools. So you want to make sure that those households know who does and who doesn't need to submit applications. You could use this combination media release for that purpose. Okay, so then the question comes in about how do you collect income information without a meal application? And this is where over the years there's been conversations about income surveys, and the question comes, so when do we use that, or who uses that? So income surveys became very popular a few years after the implementation of CEP. So some school districts, well, the state law for economically disadvantaged includes children who would be eligible for free or reduced price meals. With the lack of applications in CEP school systems, you potentially would be missing those children who were income eligible for free or reduced price meals because you're not capturing that information with applications. So the income survey was something that was created by the data management team within the department. And it is very similar to a meal application. It looks pretty close, but all of the USDA meal information has been removed. So all of that has been stripped out, and it's just basically meant to be a survey to collect that same income information. So if an SFA is wanting to collect income information from households, and the purpose is not for child nutrition, then that has to be obtained from some other means other than a USDA household application. So for example, in a CEP school, if you are wanting to gather that income information for funding purposes, it's not at all necessary for child nutrition programs. All the children are receiving free meals. Therefore, you can't process a meal application. But the income survey could be used for other purposes. So that's where these kind of came about. And that's when they kind of started being used within our school systems. So income surveys, once again, since that economically disadvantaged definition includes children who are eligible for free or reduced lunch based on the latest data available. If a school system doesn't have meal applications and they can't capture that information for those children who may qualify as economically disadvantaged, they can implement an income eligibility survey. And this is a way to capture that information for children who would have been eligible for free and reduced price meals had there been applications. And then in turn, those students could be identified as economically disadvantaged for funding purposes only. Those systems who implement this survey and can verify that income as eligible for free or reduced price lunch would mark those students as free in your local SIS system. Once again, this is not related to child nutrition, so this is simply related to funding, which is not in our child nutrition databases. These alternate household income surveys are not school meal applications, and any costs associated with collecting that information cannot be charged to the school food service account. So this is just an alternative. So a lot of our CEP schools have started using income surveys as a way to capture this information. And once again, that's not child nutrition, but the district as a whole is using these surveys. And so with the seamless summer option, and those school systems that may not be planning on processing meal applications could potentially still be planning on processing income surveys to collect some of that income information for the funding purposes. So the other thing that's just kind of, since this a lot of our application information for school year 2021-22 evolves around PEBT eligibility, the question often comes up about PEBT. So at this point, we don't have guidance for school year 21-22 or summer 2022 PEBT. We don't even know if it really will exist. What we have been told is that PEBT is here until the public emergency ends, although we don't know what it will look like. And we also know, based on the questions and answers, that applications are to be collected with the potential of making children eligible for PEBT in school year 21-22 and summer 22. So it leads us all to believe that it's here to stay and that we will see it in some way, shape, or form in this next school year. But at this point in time, we don't have any guidance as to what that would look like. But what we do know is that there will be summer 2021 PEBT benefits. That is the summer that we're sitting in right now. So just recently, DCFS has started reaching out and providing guidance related to processing meal applications related to summer 2021 PEBT benefits. So in anticipation of the summer PEBT, DCFS has asked parents who would qualify for free or reduced price lunch, but maybe are not currently receiving them, to apply for those benefits with their school or school system by this Friday, so 2 days from now. So this is meant to capture those children who were not free and reduced at the end of the school year. So you didn't have an application on them in May, and they may now have become eligible for free or reduced. And so this is that population that we're trying to capture, because now that, summer is here and these benefits are about to be issued, they want to make sure that they're capturing those newly eligible children who may not have had an application at the end of the summer. If a student was already receiving free and reduced price lunches, there's no reason to reapply. So we don't need a new school year 21-22 application to qualify a child for summer PEBT. If the child was free and reduced, at the end of last school year, then that data would still be able to be used for summer PEBT. So this is just for those children that are newly eligible. So if you don't have a child identified as free or reduced at the end of last school year, and the parent wants to fill out an application to qualify for summer PEBT, they are to contact you for that application. And then they are going to submit that application for processing. And that has to be done by this Friday to qualify for summer PEBT. So the school meal determination that you're making anytime after July 1 is on that 21-22 meal application. So if you have families that are coming to you right now because of this communication that was provided out about applications, they need the 2021 application. They need the current year application. You should not be attempting or stressing about trying to complete a 2021 meal application to qualify these children for summer PEBT. You need to process the current year application, 21-22, for these families, and that would need to be done by July 30th to qualify for the summer PEBT. Any application you receive from July 1 to June 30th is going to be in addition to any statuses at the end of any children that had statuses of free or reduced at the end of last school year. But if you process that application, that status is going to be good for this entire next school year. So it is going to be a status for the entire 21-22 school year. So that child that you process an application for today will be eligible for summer 2021 PEBT benefits. They potentially could be eligible for PEBT benefits in school year 21-22, depending on what those requirements are. And they could also benefit from PEBT benefits in summer 2022 because they will have had that status for the current school year. So I don't think you're going to get a lot of those applications, but that's what we're anticipating to collect right now. Is just that those newly eligible children who would qualify for PEBT, after the end of the school year, before this next school year begins. Okay, so some of our recently posted resources and memos. So we have been going crazy posting things, getting ready for the new school year. The first thing we have is our important due dates for 21-22. So this was posted yesterday. So it's all linked here. So once this PowerPoint gets posted, you'll have access to those links in here. We also have posted a revised administrative review schedule. This schedule has not necessarily changed the information from what you were expecting. What we did was we kind of took that last year's information of when, of who should have been reviewed last year. We kind of made that into a technical assistance column, and then we then put that information of who would be up for review in this school year. It's the same schools that had technical assistance last year. And then our New Orleans schools, which were intended to be reviewed this school year, 21-22, that are now being reviewed in 22-23, that information has been updated as well. So there shouldn't be any surprises on the administrative review schedule. There are no dates. So this is simply who is up for review. So no dates of when reviews will happen this year, but it has been revised to show who will be reviewed this year. But once again, there should be no surprises. This is simply kind of editing the calendar to reflect the information regarding the technical assistance year. The final confirmation is still needed for CEP elections, so that needs to be done by September 30th. So by June 30th, you made those initial elections. If you went in by June 30th, there's still one more step to do. So you need to go in and do your final confirmation, and that memo explains exactly how to do this. The memo 21-X199, which is the letter templates and media release prototypes, this is basically what we built this presentation off of. So that was that document that explained each of the different prototypes, and we kind of developed this training off that particular document. Our state attendance factor, so we posted a memo about that. There's a new USDA question about CEP operations. It's less than 5 questions, so it's pretty simple. Our June TANF and SNAP updates are available. This is the first run of the new school year. So June, which you get in July, is that first run from the new school year. So all of your databases are cleaned, and this is the new first run of the new school year. Our online application has opened. It opened, the memo went out yesterday. You will need to complete your National School Lunch application. So your Schedule A, income and expense, your policy checklist, collection procedures, collection officials, waivers, those all need to be completed. And once that's completed, you can also then complete the Seamless Summer option waiver. It's the Seamless Summer information is meant to feed over from the Schedule A, so it's really important that that information is in there first. The last one on this list is the Seamless Summer at a Glance. And so this is some information on how to complete that Seamless Summer application. So we made some changes, some additions to all of the forms to hopefully increase some usability and simplify things a little bit as we move into this next school year. So that is what that memo is meant to do. We additionally have some upcoming virtual trainings. We have a lot of trainings for August. We even have more for September, but our August trainings are all listed here. The registration is open on the Pennington website for these. We do have our next monthly call on August the 3rd, which is next week. Our goal for this monthly call next week is to get everyone ready for the next school year. So we are going to leave behind summer feeding as we approach the next school year and really hopefully answer questions and clear things up regarding the next school year, which is right around the corner. We also have a repeat of the National School Lunch and Seamless Summer Option application training, which is going to be next Thursday. And then there are tons of other trainings that are available for August. And once again, we just posted the information for the trainings for September. So we have just as many, if not more, for September. One last training that I really want to make sure that you all are aware of is the eScholar training. So there have been 2 trainings already, and there's one more, so it's the final one, and it will be on August the 20th. They are recorded, but this is really critical. So I cannot stress enough how important it is for you all to attend one of these trainings. So if you have not registered for the other 2, this next one is just really, really important. So we've made some drastic changes to the functionality of eScholar. So although it will look very similar, we've included some address matching, some manual matching, and then For our next CEP elections in April of 2022, those will completely move from the Child Nutrition website to eScholar. So I would love for you all to see this and see kind of what we're doing before next April. So please register for this next training if you have not attended one of the other two. If you have attended the other two, this one will just be a repeat, but you absolutely can listen again. You may pick up some more information. Now going to open for some questions. I know I have a few. I don't know how many I'll be able to answer, but I'm going to start looking at them and see what I can answer. Okay, we have a question about direct certification. So the direct certification lists are done monthly. And so once you run that direct certification, if a child is found on that, that child would become free from that point forward. If a child is on the DC list in July or August and then falls off the list and during the school year, that status would stay for the entire school year. And then so even if the child is no longer receiving SNAP benefits during the school year, if you've qualified them for free for direct certification in that school year, they would stay that status for the rest of the school year. If you do not have the 2021 application available, maybe you've sent them to the print shop and they haven't come in, I would plan on using the template on our website and printing you off a few. Trying to come over here. So on our website, if you go to under the free and reduced, the prototype application, we have the Word version and a PDF. I would print you off a few. You can update the information and use those for the purposes of processing for PEBT. So we don't want to penalize our families because we don't have our application ready. So if you have anybody requesting to fill out an application for PEBT before Friday, you can use that information. You can print that application and use it. Okay, there's a fair number of questions that have popped in. I'm going to do my best. I'll download those and I'll do my best to answer those with each of you that have addressed these questions. Hannah will, you've got a few questions in here about multiple different things related to new sites and things. It might be best if we just kind of discuss those and see if we can get those answers. So it's kind of a lot. So I think it might make more sense if we could just talk through that. If there are any other questions, just please put them in the chat. And we'll get those answered. So I'll do my best to answer each one of those. I'll reach out to the ones that have very specific questions, which a lot of them tend to be, and we'll get those answered. If I'm not able to get all that to answer today, we'll do that before the end of the week. All right, so I'm gonna leave it up just for a few more minutes to get it to capture all the rest of the questions so we can get those answered. But that is the end of the training for today. I hope that you learned something. And do know that all of those templates are simply templates. So if there are information that you need to include, you absolutely can modify those templates as long as they still keep the same required information. So if you can't find exactly what you want to include to communicate to your households through the letter or through the media release, you absolutely can modify. So these are meant to be templates, and they don't have to be used exactly. They just have to contain all of the required information. So we can, if there's specific questions, we can definitely look at that. And we will also attempt to put some of these questions and answers out as a memo for the ones that are really would impact more than just one particular SFA. All right, well, I hope y'all all have a great rest of the week and weekend, and I hope to see all of you for the next monthly call, which is next Tuesday.